Most GMs know the importance of a session zero to start off a successful D&D campaign. It can entail the entire first meeting, whether in person or online, but you can do some of it potentially before the session, online emails, Zoom calls, whatever, such that your first meeting, it can be just half that meeting. But you really want to establish the tone of your campaign in a session zero. Give the players an idea of what your world is about, its history, its level of civilization, some of the major figures, NPCs and whatnot that the players would know having grown up there. But you also want to give your players an opportunity to give their own input, what they're looking for in the game, the style, the players' characters themselves, their backgrounds, their desires and motivations as characters in your world. Do the players all envision themselves as lawful good heroes, or do they want a grittier game? Do you have player characters, rogues or warlocks or something that have a little bit more, neutral tendency or tending even worse? Are they looking for a game that's, hack and slash, or do they want a lot of role playing? Do they want story markers for experience, or just adding up the monsters they kill? But session zeros don't stop after that first run. I think that you need to take a pause once in a while and have what I call a session zero plus. As your campaign unfolds, you want to have a sense of, where you've been, what you've discovered, where the players are in terms of, how they're advancing, how they're enjoying the campaign. But most importantly, you want to know where you are going. Hello again, folks. KR King here, helping you homebrew your own D&D campaign. The journey of a group of players through a homebrewed world is one of discovery and achievement. Discovery in terms of uncovering the secrets and, mysteries of your world, and achievement, in terms of the game mechanic of leveling up, gaining in power and treasure, which is often correlates either to story markers or killing monsters. And I think that the best campaigns combine those two elements in a very natural but compelling way. Because the thing is, if you have a pure hack and slash campaign in which the player characters just meet monsters, fight them, find treasure, get experience, meet monsters, fight them, you end up having a world which kind of has no past and no future. It just has the present of fighting monsters. Because the thing is, if there's no story connections to the other NPCs of the world, what's the point? And, you may say, well, that's what I want to play, and, I think there is a past and a future. Here's all the list of monsters my characters killed, and then we'll have a future list. Okay, but really it's just a stat list. And if you play D&D long enough, you will end up in one of those campaigns where you're just fighting monster after monster. Pretty soon you fought every monster in the book. That's why they make new monster manuals, right? But the thing is that, do you really want to start that list again? And if you found yourself, oh my God, this is my 15th or 50th battle with a band of orcs, you realize this is kind of boring. But is the answer just, lots of storylines and role-playing and very little combat? No way. Because combat provides the sense of immediacy in your world. Roll for initiative. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are the monsters doing? Oh my God, someone's going to get killed. Battles make D&D exciting. But armies don't fight all the time. The old adage that, life in the military during wartime is 90% boredom, 10% terror, refers to the fact that 90% of the time, people in the military aren't fighting. And this is the same with your player characters in the world you create of D&D. Most of the time, they're doing something else. They're interacting with your world, they're uncovering mysteries or solving puzzles, or just getting by day to day. So if you're going to chart something like that, you would say, well, I guess 90% of D&D must be just non-battles. Wrong. Because the thing is, it's a game, not real life. And what makes D&D the greatest game ever invented is that it combines storytelling with the mechanics of a combat situation. And that means as it unfolds, it utilizes the techniques of storytelling. And one of the big things that separates storytelling from real life is the compression or expansion of time. I can spend 3 pages telling you the 1,000-year history of a great empire, and then spend an entire chapter describing the main character's breakfast. A film can show Conan the Barbarian crossing the vast deserts in like 30 seconds. But then he has a battle and it takes up 10 minutes of screen time. And we do the same thing in D&D. We expand the time fighting battles in terms of the game time, such that what is only 10% of real time becomes like 50% of playing the game. So as an example, let's say that in one 4-hour session, your players spend a week of game time. Because again, as I said in an earlier video, you want to track real time. And in that session, they fight, say, 2 or 3 battles. And those battles in total comprise about 10 minutes of that week. But they'll usually take up at least half of the 4-hour session. And it can be even more depending on the version of the game you're running. So 6 days, 23 hours, and 50 minutes is compressed into 2 hours of game time. And again, you can use an example to see how this works. Suppose your players discover some ancient library, whether it's in an old keep or a tomb or something, and they decide, hey, we want to investigate. There's all these books here and whatnot. We want to figure out what's here, what's valuable, and what isn't. So they're going to spend some time, use comprehend languages or various skill checks and proficiencies to look over the books, what they can read, what's useful. And suppose you tell them, okay, that's going to take you 2 days to go through this entire library. A lot of the books are just, useless, manuals of something not important, or novels, or a lot of them are damaged. But in order to really check through every book, you say 2 days. So they stay in this library wherever it is. They take their chances on, random monsters or some kind of spell effect or trap, and they just do this task for 2 days. The thing is, if nothing happens, if there's no encounter, there's no effects, there's no trap, this might take you 30 seconds to describe. But of course, you remember those 2 days did pass in the outside world, and by tracking time, you're keeping track of other events that are happening. But again, 30 seconds of game time. And the thing is, what you've done here is you've compressed the boring so that we can quickly get to the exciting. And you might have found a map or some history that, relates to some storyline the players are following, or some, events that they've discovered something, and this may cause more discussion. But they also may just go look at it and go, okay, and then file it away and continue on, to the next battle. So during that compressed time of investigation, 90% boring time, that's only going to take up, say, 2 hours of a 4-hour game, there's potentially a lot of information that the players are gathering. And over the course of multiple sessions, all of these disparate facts starts to accumulate. And the players are going to start running into other situations, other NPCs or events, and they're going to realize that there's some connections to information that they've discovered in earlier sessions. That is, if they remember. Because when you compress what would ordinarily, be impressed upon your brain studying books, if you just do it in 30 seconds, it doesn't really go into the old noggin. Now, you do have players who keep very detailed notes of everything that's happening. As a GM, of course, we all love these players, but you can't expect them to do that. They're there to have fun. They're there to play the game. Sure, they're going to take notes, but you know what? You've cooked up this world. You've made it however complicated and whatnot. And in the end, it's up to you as the GM to keep track of things. And I'll give you an example of how this can go bad. I was playing online a few months ago, and this GM, he has a homebrewed world, and he has a lot of, NPCs and storylines. It's a rich world. And I was keeping some notes, and a couple other players were keeping notes. This is an online game. I was using the Fantasy Ground notes thing. But, we ran into somebody, and I realized, I think there's a connection to an NPC that we'd met a few sessions before, and I asked the GM out of character. I said, hey, what was her name again? And he was immediately like, oh, I can't tell you that, Kevin. You have to know this. And I'm thinking, really? And the other characters were like, hey, you're the guy that takes notes, which of course I was just doing just to do. No one appointed me that. I wouldn't have taken it. And then of course they refer to various famous, online campaigns that everybody watches. They've got note takers and whatnot. So the thing is, I'm online. I don't talk about the fact, I've been a GM forever. I don't want to be that guy that says, in the old days we did it this way and this is how you want to play. Now, I think this is his campaign, great. But I'm thinking, dude, I don't care and no one else cares about your world like you care. And the thing about when you watch people online playing famous people, that's a TV show. They actually are highly motivated to take notes and to look smart. They're there to make money. They have agents. They have, movie deals or whatever. This is a business to them. And even if you're running a tabletop game with your close friends who really like your world, they don't care that much. So if your characters forgot the name of some NPC from 4 sessions ago or the exact details of some history, Don't say they made a mistake or don't hold, just tell them the thing. Because their player character would remember this. Because they are not compressing time. And as real people, your players always have something better to do than play in your campaign. So what you want to do is, at certain periods in your campaign, whether it's marked by level advancement or story development or whatnot, take time to pause and have a session 0+. Go over what's happened since the last session 0, whether it's the first one or another plus version. What have the players accomplished? Who have they met? What's occurred? And you give the players a chance to talk about, where they want to go next. And this can be a metagame kind of thing just between you and the players as people, or you could do it in-game. And as I said, you could do this after certain leveling up, maybe 3rd, 5th, 7th, when players gain new spell capabilities. But it can also be, after a big story line has been resolved, they've defeated some big villain or something. Just a chance to kind of sit back, take a pause, and see where they've been. Because what this does is it gives you an opportunity as the GM to correlate all the information that the players have accumulated in the compressed time of the 90% boring. Because the thing is, if you leave it up to the players to keep track of all this information, not only are you making it a task that they have to complete where you did this wrong or whatever, which is not fun, and remember, we're always trying to have fun, but I think that you're doing your world, which you put all this time and effort to develop, a disservice. So the thing is, keep track of what the players have discovered, who they've met, storylines or whatever, and then during a 0+ session, give them, Cliff Notes version or summary or, however much detail you want. If they have questions about this information, give answers based on what they've learned. If they ask about something that you realize you guys didn't check, did we check behind the mirror in that room? And if they didn't, you say, no, you did not. And here again, don't say, well, do you remember? If you don't remember, I don't, just say, no, you didn't, in fact. So the metagame version of a session 0+ is pretty simple. Usually at the beginning of a session, the players have leveled up if you're going to use that methodology, or we've just come off a big game where they defeated a villain. You just go over this information and have this discussion. But you can do a session 0+ in-game. One way is to have a powerful NPC, a patron or a mentor of the group who they meet occasionally who wants information about what they've been up to. A wizard who, loves to collect arcane information, the patriarch of a temple who's always, looking out to see what's going on in the world. It could be a powerful warlock or, maybe a rogue who runs a rogues guild who perhaps tasks the players for the activities. And in return, they're always interested in finding out information. And there's two elements here because one, when the players have an in-game session 0+, where they're recounting information to an NPC, there may be stuff that they don't want to say. If you're doing this in game one, player character may say something, the other one's like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. But also, the NPC can then comment on something to give the players a little more information, whether true or not, something that, illuminates a little about what they've discovered. And again, when the, mentor, patriarch, rogue, whoever this NPC is, when they provide the information, you can give it to them. If it's tabletop, give them a piece of paper, or online, send it to them. Don't force them, he said it once and then you have to remember it, because again, we're trying to have fun. So the idea here of a session 0+ is it allows you to combine, really advanced storytelling and world building with the fun of battles in regards to the typical session time, real life time it takes to play the game. So I hope that was helpful to you all. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm always looking for more. Please leave some comments. I always answer them. And again, folks, keep playing D&D and tell somebody else about it.